Hello, welcome to Issues with Cartoons, the show where we analyze animated programs and the comic books that inspire them. I'm Carl.
And I am Kyle.
And today we'll be talking about Earth's Mightiest Heroes, Episode 13, Gamma World, Part 2.
Lucky number 13, Carl.
That's right, I felt a little uneasy about this episode, but here we are.
Yeah, so this one is a continuation of the Gamma World storyline that we started last episode. This is, again, story by Chris Yost and Josh Fine. Story editor and supervising producer. And then the script this time is by Michael Ryan and directed by Sebastian Montez. I thought, just right off the bat, really strong episode, I thought.
I thought it was good. It's really action-packed. It's heavy on the superhero battles. It's a lot of plot threads we've seen set up throughout the series coming to a head. There's a lot of callbacks. The continuity's great.
Continuity's great. Some of the fight scenes and some of the lines are really creative. We'll get into some of the stuff near the end of the episode that I really, really liked, but we're not there yet, Carl, because we need to talk about the setup that this episode presents us in the cold open, which is where we left off before, where Leader has shot another Gamma Emitter into the sky, this time over Las Vegas.
That's right.
And is overtaking the city and is rapidly moving, expanding across the globe, and is catching even the Avengers in its path.
That's right. So, like, we're experiencing hulked out versions of a lot of the characters, like even Cap transforms, like a lot. It's accelerated here.
Yep.
Everyone's turning into a Hulk.
We also have Black Widow and Hawkeye positioned as kind of the B plot for part of the beginning of this episode, where Black Widow and Hawkeye are trying to get away from the dome, and as they're escaping, we cut to the intro song, and same lineup as last episode with Cap, Thor, Iron Man, Giant Man, Wasp, and Black Panther. Yeah, like you say, when we come back, all these heroes we've been following are mutating, except for Doc Samson and Thor. They are immune from the effects of the dome.
They're the only ones.
They're the only ones.
Really?
And
everybody
Samson gets taken out. He's taken out very quickly.
Yeah, he's barely in the episode.
Basically a non-factor. I thought the part where Tony's heart, they show his heart mutating from the Gamma. That was freaky.
A thought I had about Tony transforming was it reminded me a bit of Marvel Zombies. He looked like a zombie version of the character, more than a Hulk.
They kept a lot more of his features than they did for, say, Captain America.
Or the Wasp, where she's literally a monster.
Or Black Panther, where he's literally a cat.
He's a cat Hulk.
Yeah, really cool designs for those particular characters. But,
we get the Leader announcing the Gamma Dome, and there's a lot of cameos.
Yes.
You get, like, Fury, you get Enchantress, you get Zemo. I feel like I'm missing one.
We got Pepper, and we also have Hank when he's in Wakanda watching the broadcast. The setup for the rest of the episode comes when Hawkeye just says, like, hey, one of the Avengers is not inside. We got to go find the Hulk. And basically leaves Black Widow out to dry. And we're off to the races.
I did enjoy that sequence. Yeah, so Hawkeye leaves Widow to be transferred, to the Avengers, right? And then Hulk's fighting. We cut to Hulk's being pursued by the military by Ross. And I think it's a cool sequence. He's just out in the woods. It's very action-packed. There's a lot of, like, Hulk grabbing tanks and smashing them into other military vehicles.
Yeah. It was a great sequence. And then you get that G.I. Joe-looking pilot back from episode 3, where he has, like, the cowboy hat and the aviators, and he's...
Yeah, and I noticed they called some of the military equipment the Hulkbuster unit, which obviously is a callback to the Hulkbuster armor.
We've been getting a lot of Hulkbuster. I think the Hulkbuster unit might even predate the Hulkbuster armor that Iron Man wears. Actually, can I go back real quick? I want to talk about where the Leader has Thor brought into his, like...
Yeah.
I only want to mention one thing. We had talked about in previous episodes how Thor has only been referred to as an Asgardian or the Thunderer, and never the God of Thunder.
That's right.
We can now cross thunder god off of our list because the leader calls him a thunder god in this episode. I don't know if you caught it, but I heard it and I was like, wait, I need to recheck that.
So it's not like our conspiracy theory before where we thought he couldn't be called the God of Thunder for like logistical reasons.
It sounded like they were avoiding calling him that.
Right.
But this time they seem to be okay with it. Yeah, so back to Canada. Did you think, by the way, when they said that Hulk was in Canada, that we were going to see, like, I don't know,
like Wolverine?
Wendigo or Wolverine or anybody?
I didn't think that. I just thought the whole sequence was, like, very classic Hulk, you know? It's just like, it's like Hulk in the wilderness, the military's chasing him. You know, could be something that was in the films. You know, and from that sequence of Hulk fighting the military, we have a team up with Hawkeye.
It was great.
Really was Hawkeye and Hulk meet each other, right?
Yeah. And that's not a relationship I think is very developed in comics that I'm aware of. But their dynamic was fabulous.
Yeah, it was fun.
Hawkeye plays really well off of that kind of gruff, like, no-nonsense demeanor that Hulk has. And I like that when he threatens Hulk, it just makes Hulk laugh to the point where he transforms back into Bruce Banner.
Yeah, I did like that he was willing to transform back into Banner for him. He even makes a crack that he hasn't been Banner for a while, or he didn't let Banner out for a while. I enjoyed that. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, it was cool. You know, talking about Hawkeye for a second, I think I said on this podcast before that the MCU Hawkeye very much more connected to the Ultimate Hawkeye than the classic 616 Hawkeye.
Or is it the Matt Fraction series?
Matt Fraction, I think, tries to kind of ultimatize or MCUify.
Yeah. I think Jeremy's portrayal is closer to that in Ultimates. Yeah. Is all I'm trying to say.
Sure. I guess where I'm going with this is that the personality that we see Clint Barton in this show have is exactly the Clint Barton I read in Avengers comics growing up, where he's got a chip on his shoulder, he's got something to prove, he's a smart ass, he's constantly making jokes and demeaning and being kind of a pain in the butt. And like I said, just always kind of out trying to prove himself with a little bit of inferiority complex, only being able to like shoot a bow and arrow, and he's going up against the Hulk, but
he's fighting all these superheroes all the time.
Right, but he's gonna like puff his chest up and kind of assert himself. And I feel like we see a few moments in this episode and then later on.
I like that he rocks his classic costume too.
It looks great in animation.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I like that how loyal this show is to like the classic 616 designs for these characters, and Hawkeye's one of those where I'm like, I'm glad they kept the purple duds because that's how I remember the character from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know, the Avengers movies came out much later for me.
Well, and other than I was gonna say other than Ultimate Hawkeye, like MCU Hawkeye hadn't shown up quite yet. He was gonna be in Thor in 2011.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say, other than Ultimate Hawkeye, there aren't a lot of major looks for Hawkeye. But then I'm remembering the '90s cartoon where they did like the '90s armor-fied like X-Men mask-looking Hawkeye. It's very different from the Hawkeye that we see here.
Or when he becomes Ronin.
Or when he's Ronin, which would have been before this show came out, you're right.
Yeah.
He was Goliath in the comics for a while. He also had like a very like circus outfit looking thing in the 70s. So anyway, the one that I know him best as, and the one that has existed the longest and is the most staying power up until Matt Fraction and David Aja took over the character, is this purple outfit.
Right. It's definitely his most recognizable.
Yeah. Animates really well, too. Looks really good.
Yeah. Then we go with the leader, correct?
Back to the leader.
Yeah, we're back to the leader with Thor.
Yeah, Thor's trying to get Mjolnir. Right now, Mjolnir is currently being fought over by the Wrecking Crew who are trying to pick it up, and they're not having any luck. So Thor is trying to get the hammer back to him, and he manages to do that. And just as he catches the hammer, Absorbing Man appears, touches Mjolnir, and absorbs the properties of Mjolnir.
Which I thought was cool.
Really
I like that part where he's like, Absorbing Man becomes Mjolnir.
It was a good turn. It was a really good turn. And kind of gives you like, oh crap moment. Like,
don't we get a little bit of Abomination versus Thor, though, as well, before that? We get a little bit of
I think
that.
you're right.
Yeah,
Actually,
Abomination
so
fights Thor, and then Absorbing
Thor.
Man.
You're right.
Mjolnir. I like this episode, all these callbacks, all these classic Hulk villains. I really enjoy it.
It's a really fun storyline. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't quite have as many as we did last episode when they were actually in the cube fighting like the UFOs and Zax and stuff like that.
No, not as much.
But you get a little bit of the Wrecking Crew. I think you get a little bit of a couple others, but it's primarily Leader, Abomination, and Absorbing Man, who we saw at the end of Gamma World Part 1 last episode.
But the show does a good job of setting up all these rogues and having them in the world before this episode. Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of this stuff is established that happens in the show that I don't think, when I mentioned earlier that this show has good continuity, that's what I'm talking about. Like, Hawkeye and Black Widow was set up a few episodes ago, and we're getting payoff for that. And also Hulk's villains were set up a while ago. We're getting payoff of that.
And to your point, like, both of those plot threads started in episode 3 together.
Yeah.
That's Hulk and Black Widow and Hawkeye and the Cube and, well, not the Leader. The Leader showed up before that. But basically a lot of these plot threads started in that episode, and we are now 10 episodes later, and here we are, like, seeing the fruits of those plot threads. We're going to see later, not to get ahead of ourselves, but the plot thread that Episode 3 started with Hawkeye being framed as a traitor gets resolved in this episode. I mean, all these things are an ongoing concern and building off of it.
Yeah, it's an impressive tapestry of characters they kind of have weaving in and out with this show.
Yeah.
Okay, so Hulk arrives then after Mjolnir is absorbed by Absorbing Man. I almost couldn't say that, tongue twister. So Hulk immediately starts battling, Abomination, the Leader. They have a conversation, and then Hawkeye fights the Gamma Avengers.
Yeah, he says he has an arrow for each of you, which I think is such a good line.
It's classic comics. Yeah, just to be like, arrow for each one of you. Yeah.
Well, sure. and those arrows are significant to the plot because while Banner was out of the Hulk persona, he worked on these trick arrows that reverse the effects of the mutation.
That's right.
And presumably that's why Hawkeye is unaffected by the dome when they go in, is because he was immunized by Banner, presumably.
I don't think we see that. Do we?
We
don't see that, but it's implied.
I think it's implied, and I think if they did show it, it would have given away the plot twist of, like, those arrows are, like, the kind of Deus Ex Machina of the whole thing, where they're gonna... all these negative effects are gonna be reversed.
And then Wasp is one of the first one that gets transformed back.
Yeah.
Wasp gets hit and
mercifully,
she lands on the ground.
Yeah, they're all kind of still out for the count, so it's still pretty much Hawkeye and Thor and Hulk versus all these Gamma people.
I thought that was cool though how they were all set up in different parts of the world and they all like converged together again to battle the threat of the Leader. The Avengers were very much appeared to be defeated.
Yeah. But you're right. I mean, Thor, Hawkeye, and Hulk all kind of found themselves united against a foe that no single hero could withstand. Can we talk about the moment for me in this episode?
What is the moment, Kyle?
The moment for me
what's the best moment?
Was Thor versus Absorbing Man.
That was fun.
And he's just taking hits from Absorbing Man, and it's pissing him off. It's pissing Creel off. He's like, why won't you fight back? And he says, I'm concentrating. And that's when anyone who knows anything about Mjolnir starts to, like, perk up a little bit, and like, oh, wait. And then Thor says... the hammer's power is not yours to control.
Right.
It is mine. Which is the best line I think I've heard in this show so far. And he just...
it's a cool twist.
It's a great twist. And it makes so much sense, and it makes Absorbing Man look like a chump. And it makes Thor look like a freaking badass. It's really cool.
So essentially, Thor is still able to control Absorbing Man because he absorbed Mjolnir.
He absorbed Mjolnir's properties. One of those properties is that you are serving Thor's whims. Like, you are under his control. And so he basically gave himself up to Thor without even realizing it. And I wonder if there's precedent for that, because Absorbing Man was a Thor villain. In his first appearance.
Yeah.
So I wonder if this has happened. I'm sure it has to have happened in the comics before. Certainly, Absorbing Man would try to get a hold of Mjolnir in the past. Regardless.
I want to read that first Absorbing Man first appearance and find out, because it feels, it's very comic booky. Like hey, big surprise.
It's such a smart twist, and not just the twist, but the execution of the twist, the way they roll it out and then punctuate it with that line.
Yeah.
And then the move to just basically throw him at the leader in Abomination later.
I thought it was cool, and it's like you said, it's a callback to the comics having Thor defeat Absorbing Man, because Absorbing Man appears in a journey.
Yep.
The leader has a Gundam. He has a mobile suit that he climbs into. It has a skull on the face. I don't know if this is from the comics, so get at me like Issues with Cartoons.
Contact at IssuesWithCartoons.bsky.social.
Yeah. And tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm right.
Here's your homework, dear listener. If you're saying that this came from the comics, I want to know.
Yeah, we do want to know.
Screenshot a panel for me, and we'll put it on our socials. We'll do a little side by side. We'll show everyone that, and we'll credit you.
Yeah, we want this show to be a discussion.
Yeah,
we do.
But yeah, so he's got this robot, and he's trying to. Although Hawkeye makes pretty quick work of that thing. I mean, that thing doesn't really last very long.
And the leader talks an awful lot about how intelligent he is, but I don't see any of it on display. Beyond constructing the Gamma Dome that creates this situation, that creates all the Gamma heroes, the leader doesn't appear that intelligent. He just brags about how smart he is, and then the Avengers show up and beat him up.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I kind of like
I want a little more display of it, I guess.
You know what, though? I kind of like imagining that the leader is kind of a little hyperbolic in how intelligent he is. I like.
Oh, he is. Yeah,
I like the idea he's arrogant. That he's definitely blinded by his big head, and he just thinks he's smarter than he is.
He wants to be the future. He's definitely a megalomaniac. He's like, I'm gonna be God. You're all gonna be created in my image. He says at one point,
which leads into my second favorite line in the whole episode.
And what do you got, Kyle?
So after the Hulk rips up the generator and the leader's head expands and Hulk throws the generator into orbit, the leader crawls to the Hulk's feet and lays on his back, and he's like, I was creating the perfect world all in my image. And the Hulk said, that's the problem. You're ugly.
Yes, right. And that's it. Yeah.
Just brutal.
Hulk, just no mercy. You're ugly.
Hulk will smash your self-esteem. It's just rough.
And we get a cool thing that kind of calls back to earlier in the episode. Hawkeye and Hulk defeat Abomination.
Yeah.
Together as a team, which is a cool setup to their relationship earlier when they're in the woods. It's a nice way to tie and put a knot on this whole thing of Hawkeye kind of being a part of the team more so than he was before. And so I thought that was a cool moment.
And we've talked too about how in the comics before the Joss Whedon movie, Hulk was maybe participating in storylines, but as an official member, he only lasted a couple issues. And I think this show, and the MCU will later do this, but this show does a good job of showing how Hulk works in the dynamics on the team.
True.
I feel like he's a good character to put in a team setting in the same way, and I've made this comparison on the show before, but in the same way that Wolverine is just kind of like this chaos agent amongst a bunch of do-gooders. Yeah. I feel like the Hulk is a good character for these other people to play on.
He certainly brings the villains. I mean, like, more than half of the villains in this episode are Hulk villains, know? And
I'd say, like, other than Absorbing Man, who I know Absorbing Man's had histories with the Hulk, too.
Right, I mean...
Pretty much all of them.
He's a shared adversary, almost, in the comics, which is interesting. I mean,
actually, my first Absorbing Man exposure was in a Captain America comic.
Oh, okay.
He absorbs the shield. Yeah, so he's kind of been all over the place. I think, like, Absorbing Man, the Wrecking Crew, like Mr. Hyde, there's like a handful of villains that just kind of journey around the Marvel Universe and get beat up by different superheroes, and I feel like Absorbing Man has had his turn with a lot of different...
Oh, yeah. He's fought a lot of them.
But, Thor and Hulk are probably the ones that he is most formidable against. We'll be covering more Absorbing Man next episode.
So, they at the end, the Avengers are kind of celebrating their victory, right? And they ask Hulk to join the Avengers. Or they initially ask Hawkeye first. Yeah. And Hawkeye is just like, I don't want to join the Avengers. You guys can get lost. And they're like, oh, well, let's ask Hulk. He's here, conveniently.
Yeah.
And so they ask the Hulk, and the Hulk's like, I'll only join the Avengers if Hawkeye does.
If Cupid stays.
Yeah, he does. He calls him Cupid, which was funny.
A couple of things about that I like, just small things. And again, I don't know how intentional this was, but I like that it was Tony that asked Hawkeye. Yes. Hawkeye debuted in an Iron Man story.
I didn't catch that.
And I liked that it was Thor offering Hulk, because Hulk and Thor have had a butting of heads in their previous episodes where,
right,
Thor thinks Hulk is disrespectful and Hulk thinks Thor is overbearing and, full of himself. And here, like, I think there's a showing that this adventure gave them a little bit more of a mutual respect for each other. But yeah, I liked it. And also, like I mentioned before, Clay Quartermain returns from the head of the Hulkbuster unit of S.H.I.E.L.D. returns. And he looks at the security footage on Hawkeye's Sky Cycle and basically exonerates Hawkeye of any wrongdoing.
Right.
And now the target has moved onto Black Widow's back. So
Black Widow is working for Hydra.
Yeah, and she is currently in the wind. They don't know where she is.
Yeah, she's out there.
And then we jump to the coda of the episode. Abomination was thrown by the Hulk across the desert.
Right, yeah, he throws him pretty far, actually.
And he lands at the feet of Crimson Dynamo, the Enchantress, the Executioner, Wonder Man, who is now back, and Baron Zemo.
Right, and that leads us into our next episode. We'll be covering Masters of Evil.
Masters of Evil.
It's basically a teaser for that. It's just a big shot of all the villains kind of forming the team.
Yeah, so we'll talk more about that collective of villains next time.
Next week, kiddos.
But it is tantalizing to see all those villains, and most of them being very heavy hitters, all kind of
Crimson Dynamo.
Yeah. I mean, having Abomination, Crimson Dynamo, the Executioner,
right,
Wonder Man, I mean, that's a lot of firepower.
It's a good showing, and each of the heroes is represented by a member of their rogues gallery.
Yeah.
They kind of echo them in classic. It's very comic booky. I mean, I feel like the last episodes have been teasing the Masters of Evil. They give us a little bit of teaser of the villains. The show is really good about that, giving us little teasers of the villains. Kyle, where does this episode stand for you in terms of, like, where would you rank it in terms of the other ones?
So we've done 13. It's definitely a top 5 for me.
Really? You put it that high?
I think so. I mean, just for the Absorbing Man Thor fight alone.
That's a great moment.
And Hulk and Hawkeye, I think, is a great dynamic.
I enjoyed that a lot.
The mutation designs for the Avengers, I thought, was really strong.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say if I knocked it for anything, I think you mentioned the leader being kind of an ineffectual villain.
Yeah, we don't see him doing a lot of the evil things he says. He doesn't really
impress all that much, other than he bosses more competent villains around.
Right.
Or more capable, perhaps. But yeah, I mean, right now I still think my top episodes are I mean, the Meet Captain America or Panther's Quest, I'd say are still probably close to the top for me. Breakout Part 2, I think, is still near the top for me. Okay. But I mean, the Gamma World as a two-parter, like if we're considering it one story, I'd say it's easily a top 3 or 4 storyline.
I thought it was strong. There's a lot of good moments. A lot of it's a lot of fun. It's
Do you have? I don't have a ranking, a working ranking of the show right now. But do you have like an idea of where it would fall for you?
Certainly episode 4 is up there. I really like that Logan. Whenever Marvel does that, like shows the early days of Captain America and kind of transitioning into contemporary Captain America, I think is really interesting. I love the Hulk stuff. Yeah, so I would put this up there for me, certainly. Because, I'm a big Hulk fan.
Right,
I love the Hulk.
This is definitely servicing those fans very well.
Yeah.
And, we'll say it every time it comes up, but this show was conceived originally as a Hulk show before they pivoted to make it an Avengers show. I think to everyone's benefit. So
it shows.
Any more you have to say?
That kind of wraps up all my thoughts on it, really. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, great. All right, well, I'm glad that Hulk and Hawkeye are going to be around for the foreseeable future, and we'll check back in with them next week when we see the Masters of Evil. But until then, let's talk about some comics.
All right, it's time to chat about some panels.
Welcome back to Issues with Cartoons. We are moving on to the issues segment of our show. Carl, this is going to be a little deviation from the norm for us because historically, this show will watch an episode of Earth's Mightiest Heroes, the Avengers, and then try to trace some element of the show back to a comic that perhaps inspired or even was adapted from for the episode. So, we looked at Avengers issue 4 when we looked at Living Legend, or we looked at Fantastic Four 52 when we met Black Panther. So they have all been books that have preceded the episode that aired. But with Gamma World, it's a little trickier because I was not aware of very many examples of plot points from this show that existed in comics. And if you have some that you would recommend, dear listener, please contact at IssuesWithCartoons.com and share them with us. But I was aware of this event that happened in 2010, right around probably the time this show aired, which took place in the Hulk line of books. At the time, there were multiple Hulk books running between Incredible Hulks, Hulk, She-Hulk, Red She-Hulk. And it was an event called World War Hulks, where heroes of the Marvel Universe are gamma'd and become Hulk-like figures.
So it's a lot like Gamma World.
A lot like Gamma World.
Right.
So that directed me toward this 2-part miniseries we're going to cover called Hulked Out Heroes, written by Jeff Parker and art by Humberto Ramos. And it follows Hulkpool.
Right.
On a weird adventure through time.
Cosmic journey.
Yeah.
The cosmic journey of the Hulkpool.
So I'll just say for listeners, World War Hulks, which is a crossover, it's not like an event book. It touches all those series, those Hulk books I mentioned. It travels through those titles. Marvel Unlimited actually doesn't have a way for you to read that specific storyline in order without having to navigate away from the series and jumping between stories. Otherwise, I would have read the whole event in preparation for this. But all I'll say is that it exists. It's probably much more relevant than Hulked Out Heroes ends up being.
That's okay, though.
That doesn't mean that Hulked Out Heroes isn't fun, though, because
it is.
It is wild. Do you want to give us the setup, Carl?
Basically, it's a 2-part limited series, so it's only 2 issues, really.
Really
and
digestible.
I love how quick it jumps into it. It's just a fun story, and this is the type of stuff I want from Marvel. Initially, I was a little bit like, oh, okay, hulked out versions of the heroes. I don't want to read that. But once I started reading it, I was like, this is fun, and it skips no time jumping it. Hulkpool is introduced on page 2, and it's like, how could you not love Hulkpool? You know what I mean? The design's funny.
How could you not love Hulkpool? I'm just looking at this first splash where Thor shall smash Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you a little summary of the events that have preceded this. And the leader and MODOK have used the Red Hulk's energy to gamma power several superheroes. So once again, the leader is factoring into this gamifying superheroes plot. I think at the time, MODOK and the leader were heading up a group called the Intelligentsia. This is when Greg Pak, I think Jeff Loeb, this is by Jeff Parker. I think Jeff Parker did the Red She-Hulk book. I could be wrong on that, but that was when that cadre of creators was working on that line of books.
I think I gotta say though, I think Humberto Ramos was the perfect choice for the story because
his art's great.
Because his style is very exaggerated. Mm-hmm. It always has been, more so than other artists. I would say he draws really big hands. He draws really big fingers, and he's the perfect artist to draw. If you're gonna draw Deadpool as Hulk, he's the man for the job.
And you said you've read, and I have too, but you've read quite a few Humberto Ramos books.
Yeah, there was my initial first time reading one of his stories was back when Paul Jenkins was writing Peter Parker's Spider-Man.
Okay, I knew he did a lot of Spider-Man
in the early 2000s. So this was I think Ramos did a lot of covers for that series. But I do remember it was around 2001, 2002, and Marvel was trying to tie the books in with the first Spider-Man film. So it was a 4-part series of just Peter battling Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin. And it was really great because, Peter was a teacher at that time. He's still with MJ. I think he was maybe estranged from MJ.
They always were trying to do that.
Yeah, they're always doing that. But, it's just a great 4-part series. Green Goblin versus Spider-Man, and Humberto killed it. It's a great story.
I think, I could be wrong. He didn't create Impulse, but I think he did work on the first Impulse
definitely.
Series. I think Mike Waringo created Impulse, but
right.
with Mark Waid. But I seem in my head when I think of Humberto Ramos, I think of Spider-Man, and then I think of Impulse. Yeah, really, really incredible artist. And you're right, with a character like Deadpool and specifically Hulkpool, I do feel like he's a great artist for this. Some of these shots are great. The conceit is that Hulkpool has in his head that he has to go back in time and kill his past self.
Right, which is Hulk logic.
Yeah,
he's just
not really clear.
Deadpool Hulk has to kill original Deadpool.
Yeah. So Bob, agent of AIM now, he's not agent of Hydra, he's now agent of AIM, helps send him back in time, and he overshoots it, and he sends him back to 1717.
Right, we see pirates. I couldn't tell if this was a callback to early Fantastic Four, Fantastic Four number 5, where Doctor Doom sends the Fantastic Four off to go get Blackbeard's treasure and stuff, but we have a pirate thing.
I assumed it was from that. I assumed
this
is specifically from
right.
Fantastic Four 5.
It's a callback for sure.
Yeah, so Black Thing as Blackbeard, which is phenomenal. That design is terrific.
It's funny, and throughout this issue, you get Bob's time log here, and you get everything from Bob's point of view. So you get this really ridiculous dialogue with Deadpool, where he's Hulkpool is on pirate ship. you know, and it's just goofy and crazy. And then Bob's like bringing in the facts.
And Bob is then just like, he actually had so much fun being a pirate that he forgot he wanted to go kill himself.
Yeah.
So he just goes on pirate adventures with Blackbeard Ben Grimm.
I love it.
And there's the shot of him surrounded by treasure, just drinking and hanging out in the below deck. And they actually have so much treasure on board that the crow's nest is not usable.
Okay. So one of Bob's notes does confirm that it's Fantastic Four 5. He says, "Here's Dr. Doom's original time journal. Says, I've captured Susan Storm and sent the remainder of the Fantastic Four back in time to retrieve Blackbeard's treasure, ensuring that I will be ruler of the Earth." Man, Doom's weird.
You know, this is written by Jeff Parker. And I don't know how much you've read by Jeff Parker, but Jeff Parker is probably honestly one of my favorite writers of the early 2000s, 2010s. He did Agents of Atlas. He did a great book called it's with Tom Fowler. It was about a magician. Oh no, I totally blanked on it.
That's fine.
Anyway, he also did the Marvel Adventures Avengers run, which was a really really good kind of all ages approach to the Avengers, where Storm was a member and they had Giant Girl and stuff. I really liked. I really like Jeff Parker as a writer, and his tone is very much like this.
And this issue is cool because it has a lot of callbacks to like classic stuff in the Marvel universe. You know, like we said, this is Fantastic Four number 5, kind of with Hulkpool traveling through time. Page 7, there's like beautiful illustration in the corner of like the map being incorporated into the panel.
Good coloring on that too.
Really into that. Yeah, I thought that looked great.
Mysterious the Unfathomable, before anyone writes me. That was the name of the book that he wrote.
We get a little bit more of this, you know, eventually. Let's see.
I like that it's a random sorcerer on a ship that's come to foil their plans, and they end up making a pirate killing Leviathan attack them, and that's when the next time jump happens.
Yeah, and we get another classic Kirby character.
Oh man, I love Devil Dinosaur and Moon Boy.
Yeah, right.
It's a great and it was designed to be like a Saturday morning cartoon kind of in the Marvel universe sort of thing by Kirby.
Oh, and Marvel certainly reused it later on with Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur.
Yeah,
the animated show and the comics.
Because I've never read the book or watched the cartoon, but I've heard good things about both.
Right. The art's outstanding in the original comics.
Yeah.
Nachios. I can't remember her name right now, but I'm struggling.
Yeah, it's all right. We're having that kind of day. But Devil Dinosaur and Moon Boy. One thing about Moon Boy that I didn't know if you were aware, I've not heard this before, and it was an offhanded comment, so maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but at one point someone says, don't hurt that Moon Boy, or don't hurt Moon Boy, basically, because he could be, like, one of our ancestors, kind of thing. And I just wonder if there's ever been a connection drawn between Moon Boy and the superheroes in the Marvel Universe, because that would be cool, where you have this prehistorical primate kind of early proto-man character tying in with the rest of the Marvel Universe. That would be interesting. But if listeners are aware of any kind of specific
tie-in with that,
yeah, let us know, because I'm not familiar with it.
And, you know, pirate thing is with Hulkpool too. So like when they do the time jump, like
he's
the thing comes with him. Yeah, the thing comes with them. So they're doing stuff here. There's another time jump. I mean, we get a little bit more of the Devil Dinosaur stuff, but then there's another time jump.
Yeah, pretty soon after, and it takes it to 1873 to another storyline that I really loved as a kid.
Yeah, Hawkeye.
From the 70s Avengers run, when Hawkeye is stuck in the past with the Old West Marvel characters, and becomes really good friends with the two-gun kid. And they're just like hanging out, being buddies, doing target practice. And then Devil Dinosaur and Blackbeard Ben Grimm and Hulkpool show up, and they get roped into the adventure. Man, he draws a great two-gun kid.
His poses are really dynamic too. He has really good movement of like kind of guiding the eye, because like with two guns like firing these guns here, like the bullets are moving in the direction of the next panel.
Yeah,
like it flows very well. Like reading it, even this tail too. The tail moves us down the page.
You're right.
You know what I mean? It's that classic like Scott McCloud, like make the Z down the page. You know what I mean? That like Z shape.
Yeah, for sure. You can definitely see, and the lettering even helps with that, with like all the sound effects and word balloons and stuff. And his exaggeration of features, like Moonboy's face looks so good there. That's a great dinosaur. That's a great devil dinosaur chasing Thunder the horse.
It's expressive, even like on page 21. Like the dinosaurs making facial expressions and stuff. Yeah, it's cool. I like Hydra Bob here as the voice of reason too.
Yeah,
it's fun. It's just a fun story, and Deadpool's dialogue's funny the whole way. Like it's solid.
But then my interest really is piqued on page 22 of your digital reader, when they make another time jump to 1945 in Europe, when we are witnessing the moment where Bucky is about to blow up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Cap and Bucky. Presented very differently than it's been presented in the past. Here he's actually holding onto a literal rocket. Cap is in the snow looking up at Bucky flying away.
It's different.
And
it's slightly different, but it's a callback.
And it ends with Hulkpool saying, "I'm going to go save that boy," which we know is going to mess up the timeline.
Even further.
The back matter on this is really cool.
I agree.
Especially if you haven't been following the World War Hulk's storyline. It gives you the designs of all the hulked out heroes.
If you're an artist and you're following along with us, this is like the stuff I like to check out. It's like it's all the character designs.
You get Ed McGuinness's notes on the mighty Thor, the angry Spider-Man,
the Wolverine,
the No Thing, or the Nothing,
Ice Hulk,
the Inhuman Torch,
Namor, the Hulk Mariner,
Hulklops, which I think is hysterical.
Yeah, Hulklops is
really fun, and I mean, great designs, very strong designs.
Yeah, I love seeing that stuff, and they're strong too. Yeah, you could tell they put some time into that. You know, they didn't just push it out.
And then Namor is terrifying.
All right,
moving on to issue 2.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, great cover where you kind of see the crew that Hulkpool has assembled so far, with Moonboy, Devil Dinosaur, Bucky, Cap, Hawkeye, Two Gun Kid, and Blackbeard Ben Grimm. And Hulkpool is good on his word and saves Bucky. And to complicate matters even more, he flies the rocket into the castle that Red Skull and Adolf Hitler are talking in. So Hulkpool blows up Red Skull and Adolf Hitler. Just bonkers, man. Really good Red Skull too.
It is insane, and like it's really like ridiculous dialogue between a Red Skull and Hitler. They're like complimenting each other and stuff. Like it's saying ridiculous.
Like, oh yeah, we faked your death, but we did have to kill Eva Braun. Sorry.
Yeah, it's totally ridiculous. I almost hate how much Hitler shows up in comic books, but like I don't know, I didn't mind it so much here.
Yeah.
We got Cap Parade. Deadpool actually shows up in this, right? But that's later on.
Yeah, later on. Because first we have to have Hulkpool basically interrupt the origin stories of every superhero in Marvel Comics.
And this is fun. I love all this stuff, to be honest.
He's tripping through time, and he saves Matt Murdock from getting doused in radiation.
And Stan Lee is there, too.
Yeah, because if you recall, in the 2003
Ben Affleck film.
The man that well, actually no, it's not the man that young Matt Murdock saves, but in one of the scenes, young Matt Murdock stops Stan Lee from crossing into a crosswalk.
Right.
So I'm sure it's a reference to that.
Oh, it totally is. Yeah, and Stan Lee says something in this. He
prevents Stephen Strange from wrecking his car. He prevents the cosmic radiation from bathing the Fantastic Four.
I thought that was great. I love that callback.
It was so good. Well, and I like this too, where we know who these rock aliens are because we read Journey into Mystery 83.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that he's preventing Don Blake from becoming Thor. He says, "Way to smite, friend."
I love he smashes the spider that bites Peter Parker, and he says, "Watch out, dork! Me hate spiders."
So
great.
Like
smashes it.
He saves Tony Stark from getting attacked. He saves Silly Scientist and Harmonica Boy from a gamma bomb. And then finally, after all that, he trips back into a moment in time where he meets younger Deadpool from the past, who is at a strip club.
Yeah, I love that Deadpool's just in the strip club,
yeah,
like
just
putting
in
bills.
Full Deadpool garb.
Just being a total degenerate. You know,
and Hulkpool throws him out a window. That scene where he makes Hulkpool catch on fire, really visually very cool.
Yeah, the colorist did a good job with that, and he's walking out of the flames. It glows too. It looks good. Yeah, I wish I could digitally color this well.
I know.
Yeah, it's
really
impressive.
Good highlighting and everything.
It's impressive.
We've talked before about anytime you add fire to a scene, you're just creating a really good excuse for dynamic lighting.
It's true.
Yeah,
we continue the brawl. Deadpool's like, quick to the Deadmobile, which throw back to the Adam West show.
The Deadmobile.
And then Deadpool pulls out a bunch of guns. He's ready to brawl. I'm a little lost here.
This is where maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'll say it. Deadpool for me works best in small doses. So this was a very different kind of comic for me to read. And kind of when Deadpool proper shows up, it gets a little less interesting for me to follow. But basically...
It's just a brawl.
It's just
Hulkpool versus Deadpool. You got classic Deadpool action happening here. Hulkpool's kicking over cars and stuff. It's a pretty crazy fight. Deadpool stabs Hulkpool in the head. It doesn't kill him. He just pulls the knife out and says, "You miss brain." And there's a statue of Hydra Bob.
Hydra Bob looking...
The time-displaced Hydra Bob statue that kind of stops the fighting.
Yeah. Looking very, very saintly.
Yeah, he's looking real
so bizarre,
like a Catholic cathedral or something.
Yeah, but ultimately, I guess Deadpool dies.
Yeah, Deadpool's dead.
Hulkpool kills Deadpool at the base of this Hydra Bob statue. And
it's holy.
Goes back to the present and.
He gets to skip away,
Yeah. He'll crack some skulls.
Yeah.
But Hulkpool will return in World War Hulks next month, according to this. So, and the not dead Deadpool will be in almost every other.
I think this was a fun read. I enjoyed
going
to read a limited series. It's only 2 issues. There's not a lot of back matter. I mean, you could read the World War Hulk event, or you could just pick this up and read it. I mean, it very much stands alone. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good Deadpool story. I don't know. I love X-Men. I love Deadpool. So
sure, that's
big
true.
Thumbs up for me.
It does give you a preview of Hulk 22 in the back of this, which actually gives you World War Hulks by Jeff Loeb and Ed McGuinness. And Ed McGuinness is another perfect for the Hulk. Perfect artist for the Hulk. Just those exaggerated anatomy and that the big action and everything. And I think the Mighty Thor design is really good when Ed McGuinness draws it. Really, really strong. All right. Anything else on this before we move on?
No, I think I've said everything I want to say on it. We're going to jump to another irradiated character, though, to kind of tie in with Gamma World.
So last week we mentioned, or I had mentioned, that when Janet Van Dyne, when Wasp is subjected to gamma rays, when her suit gets ripped and she mutates into a wasp-like creature. I had mentioned that had happened in some manner or form in the actual Avengers comics back in the 90s. And she gets mutated again in the episode we covered today. So, still on topic, still relevant. And so I did a little bit of research, and after perusing through the catalog of Avengers comics, I found issue 394 of the Avengers, published in 1996.
In January,
the very beginning of 1996. And on the cover, it just gives away the whole game.
It does, and the transformation is saved for the end of the book.
2 pages. And I'm just like, okay, if you're gonna show it on the cover, just have her show up on the first page and let her be included in the story.
Yeah, it's
that's the least of my problems.
I thought it was crazy though that this comic, it's still 150. Something about this comic that I'm not going to show any mercy is the typography is not aged well. This is the most 90s comic book I've read
that we've read
time.
For this show for sure. And we acknowledge too, when we've been talking about Avengers books, we've been talking mostly about
early
Avengers from the 1960s. I don't know if we've covered many outside of the 1960s, except for a few here or there.
Next week we're going to be a little bit more contemporary. We're going to talk about 270, but this is my point is this is way later in the timeline. The jump from early Jack Kirby Avengers to this was a bit jarring.
So, and I agree, and I think you can tell just how much comics have changed. Even,
for sure.
In the 3 decades since Avengers 1 to Avengers 394, the not just in terms of character, but in terms of comic book storytelling, in terms of production, 1996 was a tough time in the comic industry. Not in terms of just creativity, but also in marketing or in the business end of things. Like the bubble was about to burst, if it hadn't burst already. And then in the Avengers books specifically, the way I kind of described it to Carl when I was talking about this era of Avengers is they were just kind of throwing everything against the wall to see what sticks, and nothing really was sticking. And ultimately, this is 394. By issue 402, they canceled the title, one of the most historical titles in Marvel Comics. They cancel it, and they give it to Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld for Heroes Reborn. And then they keep it for a year after Onslaught. They keep it for a year, and then they give it back to Marvel, and that's when Busiek and Perez take over, and that's when I come in. So this is about, this is just a couple years. I started reading in 1998. This is just a couple of years before I would come in. And comics changed so much even in those 2 years.
I've talked about it on a previous episode, but there was that back room in my comic shop that was the 50-cent comics, and the Heroes Reborn stuff and stuff like this littered that room. It was the stuff nobody wanted. It was Clone Saga. It was this. It was When the Bubble Burst. And people were just trying to get rid of these books.
And I don't know what prompted them to do this to the Wasp. I couldn't find any interview or any kind of oral history about this time. I mean, Bob Harris...
trying to compete with Spawn. That's what did it.
I guess.
It's trying to compete with Image.
Well, and honestly, they were competing against the X-Men. I mean, they were trying to make everything like the X-Men.
Toy Biz.
Right, and I just... That might even be it. It could just... And this two we should mention takes place during the Crossing storyline of the Avengers, which is a very notorious, if you're an Avengers fan, the Crossing is kind of a divisive subject for Avengers fans.
So,
it's when Kang the Conqueror brainwashes Tony Stark to basically become an enemy of the Avengers, and he kills... The reason Wasp is in this situation is because Tony tries to kill her.
And they mention that at the end of the issue that they're after Tony.
Yeah.
You know, and that threw me off too reading this because I don't have as much context as Kyle. I'm literally just jumping into a pool of cold water, and I don't know the Avengers lore as well. Yeah. But, you know, this as a read left a lot to be desired. I mean, like, the opening page doesn't even have any characters. It's just a bunch of made-up tech for a whole page, no context.
I tried not to do any research. I tried not to do... Just because I wanted to see how well does this book...
Stand alone?
Tell me what I need to know.
And what's the answer to that question, Kyle?
It was tough to follow.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Now, I had the benefit... I've never read The Crossing, but I am aware of the plot points just through being a fan of, like, Avengers Forever. Avengers Forever kind of puts a lot of patching on this story because they fix a lot of the continuity problems and a lot of the characterization problems. Some of these characters are portrayed in ways that are unrecognizable to me. But again, that could also just be a function of this being 30 years after the last Avengers book we read.
I found like I mentioned the typography earlier, like the compressed typography is uneasy on the eyes. It's almost like if you had your font file on Illustrator and you just like compressed it down. Sure. And that's what it looks like. And I noticed the letter is Malibu. So is that like Malibu Studios did this digitally? Had to have been. This is around that era.
Actually, I want to correct you a little bit. Sorry. Janice Shang is the letter. Malibu did the color separations.
Oh, I see.
And Malibu in the 90s, that Marvel absorbed Malibu for the coloring. Yeah, for the coloring process. This was the new frontier of comics where they were trying to figure out digital coloring and digital lettering. It was relatively new at the time.
Rob Liefeld was buying computers,
right?
You know, and stuff. There's videos of that you could go check out.
A lot of, like, you'll see a lot of like gradients and a lot of effects and a lot of lettering that looks like word art.
And Mike Deodato does his best Jim Lee.
Sure, Mike Deodato is the penciler. Tom Palmer, who is I know Tom Palmer from him inking George Perez. He actually will do the inks for the story we cover next week.
There's a lot of extreme art. Look at page 4, the panel layout. Like, you wouldn't see that now where, like, the panels are kind of, like, sideways, like, down the page and stuff.
Which is very much like you were saying. Like, they're chasing image with those kind of Todd McFarlane...
Oh, yeah. Page 5 is a McFarlane. He would do, like, the longer panels down the page that don't really have a grid, which is an effective... like time-saving technique.
Sure.
If you're trying to like draw a whole comic page, why not just do a big illustration that's like a dial down the page? Yeah, it's great.
Sure.
I've even pulled that for some of my books. I was just there's a few Todd references there.
I'm too afraid to break out of the grid. I need to get a little more experimental.
Maybe you shouldn't break out of the grid.
I'm not going to go too much into the plot, mainly because a lot of it is incomprehensible. I'll tell you how I understand it.
Yeah, sure.
Kang and Mantis are working together.
They are.
And this character from ForceWorks, Moonraker, who is also Libra from the Zodiac group. Mm-hmm. Again, I only know all that because I've read Avengers Forever. I doubt you even knew that just from reading this. But anyway...
No, I didn't pick up on that.
Moonraker is allegedly Mantis' father and has ties to the Kree priests of Pama, and very convoluted character just from this 1-2-page spread that we have. But she's torturing him to get information, I think, for like the Avengers. I really don't understand what the plot is, but
I'll be honest, the only stuff I really followed is when it jumped to like Quicksilver and Crystal, and I was like, wow, characters I recognize, and I kind of like, they're married now. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. There's Black Widow and stuff, but like it just doesn't have the diet. Like, we're introducing characters through close-ups.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the opposite of what Kirby would have done. Like, Kirby would have, like, drawn a panel with all the characters, like, full pose in an establishing shot, and then jump to a close-up. And that's where I think the art is 90s when I say that. Because it's like, we're just starting multiple pages in a row. Well, we're introducing characters with headshots.
And we're going to read a book from the Jim Shooter era of, like, when he was editor-in-chief. And Jim Shooter had a very heavy-handed storytelling, like how you lay out...
Well, of course.
Storytelling, right. He had a heavy hand and everything. But
yeah.
I think I only bring that up because it's very interesting how anti-Jim Shooter this book is, as far as establishing shots, character explanations, like positioning you in continuity. There's almost none of that.
I think I would almost disagree in that, like, it has an adherence to continuity that Jim Shooter would introduce in the 80s. Like, Jim Shooter
you think
is
it's
just
too
like,
continuity. Like,
yes,
maybe that's what I'm feeling, is that it's incomprehensible.
It can't pull itself away. It's so caught up in trying to tie into Marvel lore that it becomes disjointed, and it's like it's impossible to follow. It's impossible to follow.
Incomprehensible.
You would have to read, like, I would have to have read multiple issues of Avengers before this to even understand what was going on.
And, like, this woman in the pink shows up on page on that same page you were talking about, page 4 of your digital reader, and I thought I was supposed to know who this was. You don't get her name until the very end.
No.
And again, if you're not familiar with Quicksilver and Crystal, you don't know that, spoiler alert, that's Luna, their daughter, aged up because she was kidnapped by the Anachronauts, who are servants of Kang. Again, you don't know who the Anachronauts are because you never read an Avengers comic, but
yeah, it's
bizarre.
Yeah, they definitely made some choices with this.
I mean, I like Niet, the little short Anachronaut, like that bright blue really pops.
I like all this stuff with, like, when I was reading this, all the stuff with, like, Quicksilver I was intrigued by because, you know, of course, I'm, you know, X-Men fan, so, like, all the stuff with Quicksilver I was interested in reading, but, like he said, at the beginning of this episode, it makes sense that this comic was canceled.
Yeah.
Like, after it's, like, reading this, like, it...
You can see why Marvel handed the keys over to Image.
I could see why they gave up.
They didn't know what they had. They didn't know what to do with it.
Right.
It took Busick and Perez to come and just basically do classic Avengers.
Yeah.
To recapture that lightning in a bottle, and it's so obvious, and you would think that people would figure out by now that they keep doing these back to basics books that succeed. That, like, obviously the basics work, and when you try to
good stories
with the formula, just do good stories, good character arcs, and stick to your premise.
Good stories. I feel like I'm gonna say this on future episodes, but good stories over continuity every time.
Every time,
and this is a great example of that. This comic is continuity out unchecked.
It's a story about continuity.
It is. Yeah. It's not an actual story. It's just a story about something.
So,
I don't know.
Relevant to our coverage on page 8, we do cut away to Hank, who has not been sleeping. He's not been eating. He's exhausted because he is trying to save his ex-wife's life, because at this point they're no longer married.
Mm-hmm.
But Hank has Wasp in a cocoon after having been attacked by Tony Stark last issue. And while she's in stasis and he's working, we cut to the damaged Avengers mansion where your Avengers lineup, which now are Quicksilver, Crystal, Vision, Hercules, Black Widow, Madam Mask. We'll see Deathbird later.
And we're talking to Black Panther, right?
Talking to Black Panther.
Yeah, Black Panther's talking to him for a moment.
Who basically just tells them, like, you know, even though Iron Man seems to have lost his mind, he's still a genius and you need to be careful.
This is a Frank Miller panel of Black Panther on this telescreen too. Yeah, with the monitor. That's like a total rip from Miller.
Yeah,
for sure. And it looks like Spawn. I mean, like he drew T'Challa like
Al Simmons.
Yeah, like Al Simmons. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, some of the on page 10, the way they break up that panoramic shot of Black Widow in the foreground and Hercules in the background, they break that up into panels. Like, that's pretty cool.
I don't appreciate that.
No, I mean, I'm trying, man. I'm trying to find something.
I really don't.
I really don't like doing this to a comic, but
I like Mike Diodato. We were saying this before. I like Mike Diodato's art a lot, and what he became after this.
What he became after was he did incredible. Thor after this, or he did Thor before this, right?
I think he has a run on Wonder Woman too.
Oh, does he?
I believe too. Yeah, and he started out as a Jim Lee clone, but he grew into his own.
That Hawkeye costume I talked to you about on page.
What page is that?
12 of your digital reader.
You can see 12.
You can see him in his very imagified.
Wow, that he looks like Gambit with boots.
I know, it's sad.
Yeah, it is sad.
But he'll come back to
sad Hawkeye.
When he comes back to the Busiek Perez run, he'll come back with the purple on.
I don't mind Quicksilver's 90s suit, but I feel like other comic fans that didn't grow up in the 90s would not appreciate that.
I don't know. I always liked it, but he kept that even into the Busiek Perez early 2000s. He kept it. I was about to say after, I think House of M might have been when it changed.
Yeah, it was 1999. In the Magneto War storyline, Quicksilver looked like this.
Yeah, for a long time. I think the first time I saw him change, it might have been in the Alan Davis Busiek run on Avengers. But regardless.
So this villain is working for Kang, essentially.
An anachronaut, and he's there to... Oh, and Swordsman and Magdalena. There's so many characters.
A lot of characters.
An alternate universe version of Swordsman and Magdalena are here also. And this little anachronaut just comes and...
Yeah, it's basically the back half of the issue. This
big fight.
This page 16 is a Todd McFarlane panel, that bottom one with all the swipes and stuff. It's so inspired by Image. It really is.
Yeah.
We get our big. The reason why we covered this was the big Wasp transformation on page 18.
Yes. Because ultimately, this anachronaut kills Luna, and Luna reveals that she is in fact Luna. She's the daughter of Quicksilver and Crystal, who is captured by a character named Took. This is another little bit of trivia for you. Took, the cave boy, is from Captain America Comics #1. He was one of the backup stories. And so, presumably, it's the same Took from that
I
book.
see.
So they're trying to, again, make it relevant, I guess. I don't know. Is it tied back into the Marvel Universe? But you get... he kills Luna, and then he's taken out. And who takes him out? But it's Janet. But she's returned as this...
Teenage Mutant Ninja Wasp. It's a ridiculous design.
Yeah.
It doesn't look at all like the Heroes.
The Gamma World.
Yeah, it doesn't look like that design. That was more of Wasp as an actual bug. This is a really stylized.
It's a 90s design. Yeah,
it is.
It's like a 90s X-Men character.
It's a good way of describing it.
So bonkers to me. No one really talks about Janet. You look different.
They're fine with it. They're fine with it. It's just they're back to Avengers business as usual. They're just chatting it up.
Hank's just outside of the obvious phenotypic reconstruction, Jan, you're in perfect physical health. Better than you've ever been before. I'd say you're going to be just fine.
Let's go pray our book doesn't get canceled.
I mean, and what's wild is she keeps this look until Onslaught happens. And,
wow, and that's sometime later.
And when they bring her back with
yeah.
Heroes Return and Busiek Perez, then she's back to normal. But she is in that design throughout the rest for the next like 10 months. Crazy.
It's insane.
Crazy. So, again, your mileage may vary. Maybe you love the crossing. Maybe you love this look for Janet. I think it's an interesting experiment. I don't understand the motivation behind it. But, I guess they didn't know what to do with these characters.
They didn't. And I feel like making Tony Stark evil is like an indication of that.
Yeah.
Like why even go there?
Well, and their solution is they go back in time and they get a young teenage Tony Stark.
I think I've heard of this
to the future, to come back to the present.
I've heard of this retcon.
And I think he kills Tony. Like I think Tony dies, or maybe Tony comes out of his. Maybe he sacrifices himself. I've never read it. I don't know. Teen Tony becomes like the new Iron Man until Onslaught happens.
That's so ridiculous. It's about what Marvel had to do with Beast because they turned Beast into such a villain. They had to introduce like young OG 5 Beast to replace him. It's just so ridiculous. In fact, I think my first Wizard magazine was from 1996, and it had like this reference you're talking about to young Tony. I remember reading it as a kid. Maybe psychologically, that's why I'm not a big Avengers fan, because I read that as a kid. Because
you were reading Wizard in the 90s.
I was reading Wizard.
Probably did not care for the Avengers.
Wizards in 96, and they were like, it's not a top 10 book. Or I was reading it, and I was just like...
Well, that's why you're a Spider-Man and X-Men fan.
I was like, teenage Tony Stark becomes Tony Stark. This is lame. I just closed that book, you know what I mean?
Although it's interesting, and I'm not reading the new Ultimates book right now, but I think I read somewhere that the Tony Stark in the new line of Ultimates is a teenage.
Yes, in the Ultimates book is a young version of
So they keep trying to find a way that seems to appeal to somebody. That idea of a young prodigy genius Tony Stark.
Hickman's Ultimate Universe has been interesting so far. I'm a big fan of the Peach Momoko X-Men book, though. I love what she's doing in Marvel, and I love the way that Peach is reinventing the characters.
Is it Dennis Chant writing?
Couldn't tell you.
Anyway, it's not Hickman.
Couldn't tell you.
It's not Hickman, but I've heard very good things about that book, and I'm interested just as an Avengers fan. But man, I don't know. I got burned by the last version of Ultimates. I'm sorry. This has turned into a negative.
This is our most negative talk we've had about an issue, but
the episode was great. The cartoon was great. The issues that we picked to tie in leave some room for improvement.
Look, 394. There's a reason Avengers got canceled.
Yeah,
and it's because of stories like this.
And it's worth covering. It's worth covering all eras of the Avengers, and I think this is a very challenging era of the Avengers. Worth noting, there were 3 writers on this book, which is bonkers to me. But Bob Harris broke into Marvel. Well, I don't know if he broke into Marvel, but he got notoriety at Marvel for being the group editor of the X-Men books. And so they gave him the keys to the kingdom. He became editor-in-chief eventually. At this point, it's Mark Gruenwald, but after Mark Gruenwald, it's Bob Harris. And Bob Harris, they were basically just like, hey, you gave us, the best-selling comic of all time with the X-Men books. Work your magic. But he didn't have Jim Lee and Chris Claremont and Rob Liefeld to make a gangbusters seller.
Yeah.
He just had himself and Terry Kavanagh and Ben Robb to help him with the plot and script. And then you got Mike Deodato, who Mike Deodato's fine. He's a fine artist. Like you said, he's very much trying to be Jim Lee.
Yeah, he's
trying to be an image artist.
Early in his career here, he's still developing, and you have to understand that was the style.
Yeah.
Back then, that's just how they did it. That's how they drew comics.
So I think what we're saying is I don't think we fault the book for being what the book is.
No.
It's just a product of its time.
It is.
And it's a product of Marvel at that time.
It is an interesting time capsule of that era, for sure, in that way.
I don't think if you were to pull other Marvel books off the shelf in 1996, you would find much better or worse quality books.
True.
Necessarily.
Any more thoughts on this before we close out?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the people who made this book for us ragging it on you, but
yeah,
I think it's a good.
It's a capsule. It's a good time capsule of where we're at with Avengers in 1994. Kyle, anything you want to plug?
Ko-fi.com/KyleWindle. You can read Cornelius Armstrong, Adventures and Antics. You can read Thunderduck. You can read Mad Science Rejects. You can solicit me for commissions. Carl?
You can find me at www.carllucasdraws.com. You can get my graphic novels, Shogun Bear, and House of Horrors, and my mini comics, Ramsey Tales and Captain Devil. Feel free to reach out to me for commissions. I'm open on that. Yeah.
Contact at IssuesWithCartoons.com with any questions or feedback. Like, subscribe, follow, share, comment. We're also on Twitter and Instagram for now. Threads.
TikTok.
Yeah.
All the social media.
Are you going to make a TikTok for this?
Absolutely.
Fabulous. All right, we're on TikTok, everybody. All right. Well, tune in next time. We'll talk more Avengers next episode.